எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். அந்த அனுபவங்களை கொடுக்க போற நம்மளோட ஸ்பீக்கர் மிஸ் ஜெயஸ்ரீ ரவி மேம்க்கும் வணக்கம். Good day to one and all present here. It's my pleasure to welcome you all for today's workshop on Retail Knowledge Series 10 Family Managed Business Women Empowerment. எந்த விஷயமா இருந்தாலுமே அது கடவுளோட ஆசீர்வாதங்களோட ஆரம்பிச்சா அது ரொம்பவே நல்லா இருக்கும். அதனால நம்ம ஒர்க் ஷாப்பையும் பிரேயரோட ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம். Let us start our workshop with a college prayer followed by Tamil Thai Varthu. Thank you. My hearty welcome to our beloved Secretary, Sri Abhay Sri Jain, sir, our Associate Secretary, Sri R. Ashok Kumar Mehta, sir, our Principal, Dr. S. Padmavati ma'am, our Vice Principal, Dr. S. Rukmani ma'am, our Executive Director, Mr. Balakrishna, sir, and the Speaker of the Day, Ms. Jayashree Ravi ma'am, founder of Palam Silks. I'm glad to introduce our Speaker of the Day, Ms. Jayashree Ravi ma'am from Palam Silks, daughter of the world-renowned silk merchant Dr. Nalli Kuppuswamy Chettiar of the Nalli fame. Ms. Jayashree started her brand with 2 cupboards and 1 salesman and 60 sarees to begin with. In a short span of 15 years, she has created more than 50 unique designs.
Bhumita, you're on mute. Bhumita?
Brands focus on classic concept. Palam set the tone for modern silk sarees with never seen before.
Sorry to interrupt and sorry for this confusion. Bhumita, can you hear me?
Floor collection. Not only her collection have backed the podium, she was the first designer from Chennai with the mobile app. Palam was the first Kanjipuram silk boutique that took birth in Chennai on 2003, and Ms. Jayashree Ravi ma'am was first ever exclusive Kanjipuram silk designer from the Tamil Nadu. Now our speaker, Ms. Jayashree ma'am will take over the session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Bhumita. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Very much, ma'am. Thank you.
So first, I wish to thank Shasan Jain College for Women for having me here. And it's wonderful. And it's a great opportunity. And thank you so much for that. Wish to thank the organizers. So I wish to start my story with my first glance of, glance into the business world. Now, we resided just above the Nalli Panagal Park store. Even today, my mom and dad live there. And it's a huge house, but it wasn't designed like, as in modern times. So for some reason, I happened to be sharing my dad's office, which is still a small room up there at home. So there are two tables, and he used to sit at one table. And the other table turned out to be my study table. And he used to carry on with his, day-to-day affairs and, his meetings with the accountants and then the suppliers. He held a very personal connect with all the weavers. So, but not once has he told me that, you're a kid, you've got to, leave the room now because we are discussing some business matters. So I just happened to be sitting there all the while. And because our house was just above the store, anytime you stepped out of home, there will be some known customer, and she will come up to my dad and they'll be holding a conversation. And I used to just stand there holding his hand and listening to the whole thing. So this was life for us. So the silk saree retail world just happened to be all around 24/7. And that was the atmosphere in which I grew, and it was just part and parcel of our life. And I have no regrets that I grew up in such an atmosphere, because nowadays we talk about work-life balance, but I guess at that point of time, none of us even, thought about it, or maybe we just weren't aware of it. But even my mom, to this day, never has she even once told my father, now look here, we have to move the home to, far away from the store. So today both of them are 80-year-old, and my father is still active in business. So that's how life was for us. Now, I think it was post emergency or during the emergency periods, 1975, I think. And at that point of time, my father was, I found him to be a little disturbed, a little stressed, and for a few days. So after a few days, I just went up to him and told him, are you okay now? Have you paid your taxes? That's it. He was so overjoyed. He hugged me and he picked me up immediately and took me to my mother, and he said, do you know what she even asked me? None of you even bothered to ask me about this. So I had heard something during the conversation, and so I had asked, and I was wondering, now, what did I ask now? What is all this excitement about? So later, I came to know that at that point of time, the income tax was over 90%. And my father, told me this when he reminded me of the story. And that was one of the toughest phases that the retail industry was going through at that point of time. And now the whole of Tamil Nadu was under lockdown for nearly 2 months. But those days, we used to even complain if there was one day of Bandh, because inertia is the worst enemy of retail, and it's all about cash flow. Because yes, your profits are important, but when it comes to retail, it's cash flow is the lifeline, and that comes from your sales. And so in retail, it's all about your sales. And even if you have the best product or service, if you're not able to sell that, then you are a failure. So Palam Silk, we launched it in 2003 in a small 10 by 10 square feet room, and it's there. I mean, the current Palam Silk store in Pondi Bazaar. We used to be located in the second floor in one small room. I just had 2 cupboards, and I was supplying Pata sarees to 2 online portals, eShakti and Chennai Bazaar. Used to be just me, my mom, and one salesperson. Now that salesperson is still working with us. So then gradually we had even, friends used to drop by appointment. See, women are very appreciative about saris. And I think that's how the sari retail is such a thriving industry. Because even if you have one small collection at home and you sell from home, if you have good stuff, Indian women will somehow come to know about it and they will become your clients. So that's how our sari retail industry is. So today, several small retailers are on the brink of closure for no fault of theirs. Because businesses, they draw their budgets based on, on month or on the year, and it's based, generally you calculate it as a percentage of the previous year. And the projections are all based on that. And suddenly, out of nowhere comes the lockdown, and you're just thrown out of balance. And the entire system becomes stagnant, and you're out of control. And yes, I understand we are all swimming in uncharted waters, and the only certainty is uncertainty. So even if you survive for 24 hours, you are a winner. But then the battle is still going on out there, and you still need to survive. And to survive today, we need to learn so many new things: frugality, stock rotation, surviving on shoestring budgets. And suddenly, so many of your expense heads seem meaningless because they are contributing nothing towards your sales. And we begin to notice the underperformers, as you call it, in the workforce who add no value to the business. And managing to run your business with much less becomes an art. And then, even in spite of all that, you're not able to make both ends meet. And then you realize the biggest realization comes in. The tough days in the pre-lockdown days don't seem so tough now. And in fact, they are even, you can consider them as prosperous times. So remember just to keep telling you this one line every day. This should be your first mantra that you read out, you tell out loud and hear again, hear back. And I am somehow going to survive this difficult phase, and I'm going to come out of it alive. And somehow I'm going to keep it going. This is what you need to keep telling yourself. Now, keeping all this aside, now what is that most people fear the most when they want to become an entrepreneur? Failure. So how are you going to overcome this fear of failure? Time. Just give yourself the time to succeed. See, there are now 2 ways of looking at it. Either you become an overnight success and raise loads of capital, investor capital, with a huge base of huge customer base, or you can relish every day. You can lay the building blocks one by one. This from the outset may seem like it sounds very slow, but then you need to remember that most of the brands that are even existing now for nearly 100 years, all of them were built this way, with the only intent of surviving for decades and decades, taking small, steady, consistent steps. Now, they may have been, they may have slipped several times, but then their bones are intact. Calculated risks is everything. Now, when you take huge risks, life or death, that is when you begin to believe in your fate rather than yourself. And of course, there'll be plenty of questions, what if questions, that will be endless. But then with experience, you will learn to understand when to stop peeling the onion and actually put into the pan to fry. The toughest thing you face in retail is closing down your business or closing down your outlet. And I had the privilege of going through this 5 times. Just my Mylapore store alone was shifted thrice. From TTK Road, we went to Luschurch Road, and then we went to Oliver Road now, hopping around like a vagabond. And this cost us, of course, handsomely. But the learning, however, was don't spend a bomb on the interiors when it is your rented property, particularly if you don't have long lease agreements. And even when you do, be wiser so that you're able to probably have some loose furniture or furniture that can be easily shifted to a new place. So did all this affect me? Maybe shifting of the store didn't affect me much, but then closing down 3 stores, 2 in Bangalore and 1 in Coimbatore, yes, it did hurt. It revealed the biggest mistake that I did. Never try to manage everything yourself, because you cannot be at all the places, at all the times. Now, you may have installed your CCTV camera, you may have, the best software, the AI in place, everything. But then in order to succeed, you need one thing, and that is human resources. And you definitely need to invest in this. And you can do a whole lot better if you have the right people at the right time, making all the right decisions for you on the spot. That is important. Training, training, training. I would say constant, consistent training is a must. And even there, I think you should have it all in writing, whether it is your SOP or it is your KPI, everything. You should have it in writing, and you need to train the trainers. Now, you would have often heard this line, have a vision. Be clear about your long-term goals, your short-term goals, your long-term plan, short-term plan. Even when you are working towards your long-term goals, have several short-term goals so that you actually feel good as you tick off every mini goal. And you will see that even before you realize, you're only inches away from your bigger goals. Coming down to what kind of people tend to succeed. The shapeshifters, those who are the quickest to adapt. Now, after the initial 1 year, when we had built a loyal customer base, as the footfall increased, I somehow took up the courage to launch a 800 square feet retail store where we specialized only in Kanjivarams. Now, imagine what a dwarf Palam would have been in T Nagar, a place, with so many sprawling, multi-storied retail brands out there, all around Panagal Park and Usman Road. But yes, I did launch that store, and slowly the footfall was better. It picked up, and by word of mouth. And again, I expanded. I added another 800 square feet, and this time for casual sarees like silks and silk cottons. And as we expanded, the overheads increased. And that was when I realized that there is something called stock rotation, and you need to take care of that if you need a healthy balance sheet. So you may have the best products, but in order to survive, you will need to see that all these products fly out of your shelf within X number of weeks. So now the footfall that came in by word of mouth was not enough. And I could not afford the advertising, which was mainly, the print media and the television. That was the major media. Now you have the social media, and Insta is a boon to so many of them. Many people now, I think they have their businesses just running on Insta and they don't have a brick and mortar store. But it was not so back then. So I used to schedule 3 direct mailers. One would go in Diwali, one during New Year, and one would go in April for the Tamil New Year. And then we used to call all our regular customers, and we used to, when we thought that we had some collections that she liked, or even when we thought there were some colors that she would like, we would call them. And the customers were so happy with the, with the personal attention that we're getting, and they used to drop by. Today, no one picks calls. No one even reads the messages. So this is how it was. And many years passed by, and we then launched 3 branches. So now Palam had the stocks, had the sales team, we had the financials, everything fell in place, which means now we had the budgets to get into the mainstream marketing, which will put Palam along with the Tinagar bigwigs. But we didn't do that. We opted to take a different route. So when all the retail giants were spending on the print media and on the television, Palam resorted to hosting fashion shows. And we started launching designer concept sarees and kanjivrams. So several hallmark creations like Golusu Pattu, Corporate Pattu, Slim Fit Pattu, all of this were born on the ramp 10 years ago. And we would have created several designs, nearly 200 designs over the past 15 years. And this, you must understand, it was at a time when the Annam and the Pesli, these dominated, these ruled the Kanjivrams. Like there was literally nothing else. So at the fashion shows, I had the opportunity of meeting 400 to 500 customers, all connoisseurs of silk. So I could see the expression on them as the models walked the ramp. And I knew they were floored by the innovative designs. So now I knew that I could actually sell these sarees. Because at Palam, we were very particular about one thing, and we still are. All the innovative designs and concepts need to be attractive to the youth. Why? Because only then the Pattu saree industry needs to thrive, it needs to grow. So if that needed to happen, we needed the millennials to feel fashionable when they are wearing Pattu sarees, when they are wearing the kanjivrams. So we needed the youngsters to wear the Pattu sarees, not just for the muhurtams, but for all the various occasions. So we had to break that mental block that kanjivrams is only for the middle-aged people. We had to break the mental block that it is, reserved for your muhurtam collections, or muhurtam only. So at the same time, we had to resort to new venues for marketing them in style, and it also had to be cost effective, because I wanted kanjivrams to be as fashionable as the gowns, and we did achieve that. So we didn't go to the renowned photographers or talents. We gave an opportunity to the startups like us, who were talented, who were confident, and who could also think out of the box. And it turned out to be cost effective for us because we were giving them an opportunity. So we went in for startups when it came to photography, modeling, creative agency, everything. And now, even during the lockdown, we realized that we can actually manage with just social media marketing. Actually, we can survive with just that now. So you can survive even a meteor attack if you could change, if you can adapt to the changes that are happening around you. Now, when you start off, say when you're a startup or you are thinking of starting one, how do you face the first roadblock? How do you survive that? Again, time. Give yourself the time. Yes, even Jeff Bezos started Amazon in his garage. Netflix was born out of a conversation that was held in the car by two founders. Give yourself the time to succeed. Don't be in a hurry. Don't think that you need to reach Mount Everest even after you go on a trekking trip to the Kodai Hills. Enjoy every step. Pause when you're climbing. Take a pause, pat yourself, give yourself a pat and say, pause to relish that moment and focus on every step, and then take your next step. So when you're focusing on every step, it may seem like your journey is pretty slow, but after a while, even without realizing, you would have seen that you have gained speed, and suddenly the whole world is under your feet. Now, 2003 to 2013, our journey was step by step. Then suddenly in 2013, all the eyes were on Palam because we had brought down the Badshah of Bollywood, Shah Rukh Khan, to our fashion show. And not once, but twice, in 2013 and in 2014. So all of a sudden, Palam became a brand all within a span of 14 months, when we had both Deepika Padukone and Shah Rukh Khan at our fashion shows 2 consecutive years. And Abhishek Bachchan was an icing on the cake for the second year. So Palam came to be accepted as a trendsetter. And we have lived up to that tag even today. And we have never wavered from what we stand for. So Palam is a trendsetter in Pattu sarees when it comes to innovative designs and concepts, focusing on the ambience, focusing on the shopping experience, focusing on the whole thing as a wholesome experience. So when all the stores follow a single format for all the branches, Palam was the first silk saree boutique that was launched way back in 2003. So we gave the customers something that I felt was lacking in the big, sprawling retail stores. So as these stores were growing in size, they were drawing a big crowd of people. I felt that the customers were actually missing out on some things, missing out on the ambience, missing out on the one-to-one service, missing out on the select designs. And as these big stores had 200 to 300 salesmen, one salesman was assigned to every counter. But we indulged in a different pattern. At Palam, we had one salesman walking the customer through the entire store. And the customer was really enjoying this one-on-one service, this personal attention, and she appreciated this service to such an extent that the customer would address the salesman by his name and thank him while she walked out with a shopping bag. I believe if there is one talking point about Palam, even a century later, it'll be this. We changed the texture of Kanjivarams from something that was stiff and starched fabric to something that is soft and light. So actually, nobody came and told us upfront that this was required, but we realized this is the barricade that was between the 20-year-old woman and Kanjivarams. And that was, it's heavy and difficult to treat. Now, all this may sound very simple because I just put it in one sentence, but then it is a very complicated process because you need to play with the texture and also you can't compromise on the quality. So I refuse to believe that Kanjivarams has been like this. It has been stiff, it has been starched, this is the texture, and this is how it has been for decades and maybe even for centuries. But I refuse to believe that. And I said, no, this can change. So I started working on a new texture. And we experimented with several weaving techniques so that we come up with soft, easy to drape, light conjuverums. Initially, the customer would come and ask me, is this really conjuverums? So I used to be standing there and I used to be, attending the customers. So I would tell her, ma'am, this is for your young daughter. So take the sari and show it to her. I'm sure she'll love it. And they really did. Because yes, the customer took some time to accept this change, but it is this change that helped the pattu sari industry to thrive, to expand and not shrink with time. So they loved the texture so much that they were even started visiting the other retail stores and asking, Inga palam pattu irukka? So something that was an innovation 15 years ago has now evolved and graduated to become something normal, which I believe is the biggest credit that someone who has created can get. Now, it is very important to know what you are offering the customer, why you are offering that to the customer, and how you are going to ensure that it reaches that customer. Because the best stocks can just remain in your shelves and gather dust if you think that your job ends with giving the best products, because you need to run that last leg and do what you need to do so that you ensure that your creation reaches your audience. How to be part of the movers and shakers, how to be a part of those who disrupt the industries for the better. Conserve your energy. Make all your decisions yourself. Now, if you think that you don't know something, learn, try to find something about it. But if you think you don't have an aptitude for it, employ the best resources. Even then, trust them only 95%. Have a 5% check on them so that you are able to wield control. Never give 100% decision-making powers to your teams. Always have in everything that 5% control, because it is this 5% distrust, that will help you find all the loopholes in your system and you'll be able to remove them. And this is going to be a never-ending process, but don't be guilty about it. Would you ever leave a child with your nanny for a night, even without checking a baby monitor? Even before the flight takes off, every single nut and bolt is checked. This doesn't mean that your ground staff and your engineers are not good, but what if someone had made an error? Maybe due to lethargy, or maybe due to oversight, or maybe even because of some intentional misbehavior. But there is a cost attached to every error. So keep your system tight and don't relax monitoring it. Delegate, but have an eye on them. Keep watching. You can't get tired of training. Even your best second in command needs training. Even you need training and mentoring. So see if you can get a good mentor, because it's good to have a bouncing board. It always helps. Whatever may be the technological development, never stop visiting your outlet. Never stop meeting your customer. Now, our country is a place where you have, where there were umpteen number of kingdoms. And you would have heard so many stories of how kings used to disguise themselves and then, mingle among the people. Even when he had the best people among his courtiers and among his advisors, only for one reason: to get first-hand feedback. So never stop meeting your customers. Do this whenever you get an opportunity. If you don't, go in disguise if that is what is required of you. But because your perspective is definitely likely to have a slightly different angle to it, because it is your dream, It can never mean the same to another, because everyone is there to just facilitate, to help you live your dream. But you are the one who is etching it. You are the one who's sketching it and coloring it differently every day as you change. So don't expect others to consider your dreams as their dreams. You have to pay the way to reach your dream, and you need to make all the efforts. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to be stressed about it, but your job does not end with you having a system in place. You have to be around, keep watching, keep monitoring. You have to be alert and aware of everything that is happening in your organization. You need to have several eyes and ears. You need to have your team of loyal, confidential messengers. So build your team of messengers. Now, it's nearly 20 years now. We are into our 18th year. And my daughter, she'll still have so many questions to ask about how, the way Palam grew. And this, every dinner conversation, we'll have some questions coming up, some discussion coming up, and she'll keep asking, Ma, what were you thinking when you, launched this design? How do you think, what made the customers buy? How did you convince them? And one day she suddenly asked, what guts, Ma, you started Palam? I said, what? What are you even asking? She said, yeah, what guts that you started Palam? You're a homemaker. You weren't a NIF student. You were not an MBA. You didn't have any working experience. And just like that, you go and start a brand out of nowhere. How? And I told her, I had nothing to lose. So you need to be a Chanakya. It's not just about your product or your service. It's much more than that. And when it comes to business and retail, it's an art, and the learning never ends. So all the best, students. Wish you all the very best in all your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was so inspirational and so many inputs for today. I think that will be a lot more to take, sure, for the audience. So lovely. We have our principal, ma'am, as well as our executive director, sir, Mr. Balakrishnan, sir. I would request our Balakrishnan, sir, to have few words before starting with the Q&A session.
Thank you so much. And it's been an honor to have Mrs. Jayashree Ravi along us. And ரொம்ப ஒரு மெஷர்டான ஒரு சக்சஸ் ஸ்டோரியை ரொம்ப அழகா the analogies that you have given us is amazing, ma'am. Thank you so much. And இதுல சொன்ன ஒவ்வொரு விஷயங்களும் from the retail perspective, இது நம்ம செஷன்ல இருக்கக்கூடிய ரீட்டைல் ஆடியன்ஸ்ல இருக்கவங்க எல்லாருக்குமே கண்டிப்பா அதோடைய விஷயங்கள் ரொம்ப அழகா புரியும். நீங்க ஷேர் பண்ணிருக்க ஒவ்வொரு விஷயமே இஸ் சொல்ல திருக்குறள் மாதிரி ஒவ்வொரு விஷயமும் நீங்க அதை ஷேர் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச். ரைட் ஃப்ரம் ஹவு டு கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ட் தி டீம், அதுல ஒரு பெரிய விஷயம் நம்ம அச்சீவ் பண்ணிருக்கோம்னா, இன்னைக்கு வந்து நல்லி எப்படி ஒரு பெரிய நேமா இருக்கோ, வேர்ல்ட் லெவல்ல நம்ம நேம் வெளியில வரைக்கும் போயிருக்குன்னா, இன்னைக்கு பாலம் சில்க்ஸும் அதுக்குண்டான ஒரு விஷயம், ஒரு டிசைனர் ஃபீல்டுல அது பட்டு நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி ஒரு ஸ்டார்ச் சாரி, ஒரு சில்க்னால இப்படிதான் இருக்குங்கிறது இருந்தது. அதை இன்னைக்கு அப்படியே ஒரு சேஞ்ச் ஓவர் கொண்டு வந்து இன்னைக்கு யங்ஸ்டர்ஸும் அதை யூஸ் பண்ற அளவுக்கு கொண்டு வந்திருக்கோம்னா, அதுக்கு வந்து your role is amazing and we respect you for that. And thank you so much for sharing all the insights, and it will be very useful for all the students that we have amidst us. And also நீங்க வந்து ஒரு ஃபேமிலி பிசினஸ்ல எப்படி அழகா உங்களை ஃபாதர் இண்டக்ட் பண்ணாங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னது வந்து இட்ஸ் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப சிம்பிளா நீங்க சொல்லி முடிச்சிட்டீங்க. எவ்ரி டிஸ்கஷன்ல நீங்க இருந்திருக்கீங்க as a child, and as you grew up, no NIF or no MBA college can teach what you have learned from your father, which the students இன்னைக்கு எந்த காலேஜ்ல போய் படிச்சாலுமே இந்த லேர்னிங், அந்த பிசினஸோட லேர்னிங் and experience and a conversation with the customer when you step out of the home, it's all a boon actually. And we look forward for many more successes coming out of your stable, and we're looking forward, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, namaskaram. How are you, ma'am? Padma. Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
All good, all good. Sir, ED sir and the audience, She has been a great support for us when we started the Center of Excellence for Retail, sir. We had been to her store and she has been kind enough to guide us, and she has been present for the function, and thereafter also, whenever we approached her, she has been a great motivation and inspiration. Ma'am, you are an inspiration, right? Like,
thank you.
We all know that no shop can beat Nalli silk sarees. No doubt about it. Even now, if I have to take a silk saree, I will only prefer to go to Nalli. But you have brought a trend setting in the Palam silk, where you had an uniqueness, keeping up the traditional touch that you have learned from the father, from the family business, and also deviating differently and accommodating the younger generation. That's something awesome, and you are a real inspiration for all women. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. So shall we move on to the Q&A session, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
So participants, if you have any questions, please raise your hands so that the team will unmute you, and you can unmute yourself in the video and you can ask a question to ma'am. Or else you can even put your questions in the chat box too. Open to the question session. Ma'am, we have a question in the chat box. Shall I read it out, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. It is from Bhumita R. What was your encouragement before launching something new, ma'am?
You never know. Anything will be an inspiration for you. Because once I remember, I was just sitting in a meeting. It was an IVA meeting, an association, and we had the Co-optics MD there, and he was giving a talk. And he was giving a talk about some designs, and he was talking about how the Annam, the Paisley, and how they were taken from various things. And suddenly sitting there, I just thought, how nice it, and he was showing the coin Buddha he was talking. And I know the coin Buddha is something very popular. Suddenly sitting there, I thought, why not have the old dynasty coins and bring those designs and to the as a coin Buddha. And that later evolved, we started researching and we got so many designs. And then we had a dynasty collections, not just with the coins of those dynasties, the Cheras, Cholas, and Pandyas. We brought those designs and we had. So when we just think, I guess, you just keep thinking of design. Anything may inspire you. You never know. But what encourages is when you go to the store and you show some new designs, the response that you get from the customer, அவங்க முகமே அப்படியே பிரகாசமாயிடும். So when you see them so happy about it and when they appreciate you, I think for an artist, that is the best thing that can happen to you. Directly when you're in touch with them and somebody says, oh, this is so beautiful, and buys that piece. I think that is the encouragement that we get. And that's also one reason I keep telling you, please keep going. Even when you have a retail store, please keep talking to your customers. So many things you learn from them.
Lovely. I think you must have got the answer. Yes. Ma'am, shall I read out the next question?
Yeah.
It's from Lalita. Good day, ma'am. My question is, if one salesman assisting throughout, have you been able to maintain the same even during the peak seasons, ma'am?
Peak season, what happens is there'll be one salesman attending 2 customers. Maybe that is the most we will do. But then definitely, even during the peak season, it is one salesman who goes all through with the customer. Because we know on an average, like at any point of time, how many customers you will have. You're talking, I think, about Diwali season. That is when all of us will be attending. Anyone who's there, everyone at home, I think, will be attending the customer there. So that's what happens. But yes, when there is a big rush, what happens is one salesman may be helping out 2 customers, but then if the focus is definitely on the customer. We try to do it most of the time. It is a very rare thing when it doesn't happen, but I think because that's the only way, because that saves time for the customer as well. She need not say a particular customer wants only a certain type of sarees or certain types of design. Even when she goes to another counter, once again, she'll have to explain the whole thing to them. So I think all that can be avoided. It saves time both sides. And it also benefits you. You may be able to sell more when the same person is attending the customer all through.
That's so nice, Mom. So fine. Thank you, Lalita, for the question. Next question is from Reshma. Ma'am, how did you manage to offer unique patterns of sarees that's one of the rarest one in the market?
Again, I think it's all about what you want to do, what you want to do for the industry, what you want to do for the customer. There are two different things. See, what happens is even during the, I often tell this, nobody came and asked me to do all these things. Nobody told me that you need to come up with some innovative designs. Nobody came and told me like, you have to do something for the youngsters. But it all depends upon the drive in you. What is the bigger purpose for which you're doing all that? So I think that is the inspiration, and that is when you come up with, because you keep thinking in the same way. That's why I always say that you need to always stay in touch. And why, again, I'm keep telling that, you're coming back to the point that you need to speak to your customer is, once we came up with a pre-pleated sari and a ready-made pattu sari. And that happened because the customer said, no, I don't want this pattu sari for my daughter because she's staying somewhere, very far away. She's working somewhere and there's nobody there to help her tie the sari. She doesn't know to drape. So things like this also will inspire you to come up with some pattern. So you'll have to keep thinking towards it.
So lovely, Mom.
One more thing, you shouldn't be scared or you shouldn't fear that what if they don't like. If you present it the right way and you explain, and it's all about the presentation and how you convince them. And I guess I was a bit lucky because I came from that family. So people were even open to accept when I presented them something or came up with some thought.
It's all based on the experience and the life learning, right, Mom? So lovely. So next question, Mom, from Mahati R. Ma'am, what kind of support did you get from your family during your tough times?
I think my father was a very, very big support even today. And even today, if I feel like talking to him about something, I can, because luckily we are all in Tinagar. So I live also in Tinagar, just 2 minutes away from Nalli. So anytime I can go. But yes, he always gave us the time. He never said he was busy. Even when he always found time for us. I think that is something so important, because when we say, Papa, I want to talk to you about something, however busy he is, even if he has so many functions that he attends or whatever it is, he will explain and he will say, is it okay? This is the time I'm available. Or if not, I can come home to talk to you. So that is the humility with which, and when you have someone like that, you always feel, okay, there is someone to take care of us. And that itself gives you so much of courage that if there is something, there is someone who will take care of us. So I think that's the moral support I got from him. And another thing is, I find my brother to be a big inspiration, because my father was big and he made a big name, but it was my brother who took it, as a global brand. He took it all over India and abroad. So when I look at him, it is a big inspiration for me. And these are two people who I can always go and talk to whenever I feel like I need some advice, and they've always been kind to me. So I guess I've been lucky that way.
So lovely, lovely to hear. And last, I think we'll wind up with Nandini Ma'am's question. So good day, Ma'am. How have you overcome the fear of failure, if you ever felt it, Ma'am?
Honestly, I can't say there was a fear of failure, but I have felt sometimes a bit small because two giants. Now I was also married, and I'm also married into the Kumaran family. So two big giants, and what am I going to do? That is, how am I? Whatever I do will affect my father because I need to do something, but I have to ensure that I don't do it wrong so that, you know, அவருக்கு எந்த ஒரு கெட்ட பேரும் வரக்கூடாது. So that was the fear I had. It wasn't the fear of failure. It was a kind of responsibility because the bar was set so high and I have to keep up to it. I have to match it. So that was the only thing in my mind because he used to keep on talking about never, you know, you need to ensure that you give the quality. Quality is always something. He'll say, even if your price is 5 rupees or 10 rupees here and there, that is okay. But nobody should say that your quality is bad. So these are the things, that was the fear I had, that I need to live up to that standard. But I don't think I had a fear of failure because I'm generally a person who's not, what to say, I do it step by step. Even in fact, in 2003, when I started Palam, I never thought that Palam would grow to this extent. So I have taken whatever opportunities that come my way. I just take it and go with the flow. So that's my attitude, but I think that has helped me here.
So lovely, ma'am. Really, to be like each and every experience, what you have felt throughout your journey, I think that will really help each and every one of the participants who are attending today because it is so natural, it is so lively that experience whatever you are sharing. So sure, this will help the participants. Any more questions that will be taken by the center and it will be mailed to you, ma'am, so that those questions will be surely answered to the participants. Thank you so much, ma'am, once again.
Thank you all. Thank you once again, the organizer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jayashree ma'am, for joining us and sparing your valuable time in spite of your busy schedule. I know that we have taken some more time.
It's always a pleasure to address students.
Yeah, ma'am. We'll wind up with a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty God for making this event a resounding success. I consider it a great privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of the principal, managed, staff and students of Sri Shankarlal Sundarbai Shesan Jain College for Women, I express my deep sense of gratitude to our speaker of the day, Ms. Jayashree Ravi ma'am, founder of Palam Silks. Your enlightened speech must have answered many minds, ma'am. My sincere thanks to our college secretary, Shri Abhay Shri Srimal Jain sir, Associate Secretary Dr. R. Ashok Kumar Mehta sir, Principal Dr. S. Padmavati ma'am, Vice Principal Dr. S. Rukmani ma'am, and Executive Director Mr. Balakrishnan sir. Thank you for your encouragement. I extend my gratitude to all the teaching and non-teaching staffs for their support. A special thanks to the technical team who has always been a support in facilitating the workshop. Thank you everyone, and I thank God for making this event a great success. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.